We already know that when Donald Trump was elected, he promised to cut ties with his businesses by putting them into a blind trust. We found out he didn't even know what a blind trust was, but he went back on that promise. He instead turned some of the businesses over to his children. He still is getting financial reports from the kids. And the big thing is that Donald Trump didn't divest from his companies like other presidents have done. And that would be really the way to avoid conflicts of interest. So it doesn't actually matter how much Trump knows about what's going on at his businesses. He still knows that these hotels he has are in the family. He knows about the other businesses. And remember this total charade of a press conference a week before the inauguration, which was meant to sort of assuage our fears about possible conflicts of interest. Remember this thing?
President-elect Trump wants there to be no doubt in the minds of the American public that he is completely isolating himself from his business interests.
These papers are all just a piece of the many, many companies that are being put into trust to be run by my two sons. And I hope at the end of 8 years, I'll come back and I'll say, oh, you did a good job. Otherwise, if they do a bad job, I'll say, you're fired. Goodbye, everybody. Goodbye.
Yeah, I'm sure after 8 years, Pat, he'll just be shocked to find out all the stuff that happened while he was president, or 4 years. He's not going to have any idea, right?
It's hard to believe that Donald Trump's sons, Don and Eric, aren't updating him on the state of the businesses.
So that's what we knew already. Okay, here's the news about this. We now have learned that Donald Trump can also draw money from his business whenever he wants without telling anyone. The General Services Administration released some documents last week, one of which we're putting on the screen for you. These are changes made to a trust document, which include a clause that says the trustees shall distribute net income or principal to Donald J. Trump at his request or as the trustees otherwise deem appropriate. This can include profits from the businesses themselves, and being able to take profits from the company also would be an indicator to Trump about how the company's finances are looking. Because if there are profits to be taken out, that means that the businesses are making money. And for anyone who thinks, oh, the documents have been like this for a very long time, this is something that the Trumps went back in and added, Trump's kids. They added this language after the inauguration, after Donald Trump did his song and dance about disconnecting himself from his businesses. Frederick Tansil, who's a family estate and trust attorney outside of D.C., he reviewed the documents for ProPublica. He said, quote, it's incredibly broad language. The Trump Organization is a private company. Trump doesn't have to disclose when profits go right into his pocket. They just will go right into his pocket. And Donald Trump is not even required to report or disclose the profits in federal financial disclosures. The only way to see the draws that Trump is taking from his businesses would be, you know where I'm going, Pat, release the tax returns, which, yeah, we know about that already.
And this latest story brings up a lot of ethics concerns and conflict of interest angles, but we also know that he's benefiting from the taxpayer because when he travels to his own resorts or when his family uses his private airplane, the Secret Service has to reimburse those costs, and they go back to Trump.
It's a total kleptocracy. And Stephen Rosenthal, who's a senior fellow at the Urban Brookings Tax Policy Center, said, quote, for tax purposes, it's as if the trust doesn't exist at all. It's an entity on paper, nothing more. Eric Trump recently told Forbes that he plans to regularly update Donald Trump about losses and profitability, etc. It is all a sham. We have a kleptocracy. We have a president knowingly able to make decisions impacting the country and in some cases the world to enrich himself and his family. Pat, how is this helping the average voter who supports Trump?
They believed that because Donald Trump made so much money in his businesses that he would be able to use those skills and help the American public.
Yeah.
We know that he's not only not helping the American public, but he's also enriching himself to this date.
And just wait until we reveal the details of Trump's tax reform plan, which might be the next failed disaster of the Trump administration. On today's bonus show, cat chaos is hitting producer Pat. It is scandal number 4 or 5 at this point that Pat is bracing against. Also, are habits that you have just to be safe considered superstitions? I got a few emails from the audience about that. I will update you about the YouTube monetization crisis. Hint, it's a disaster. I don't usually swear on the show, Pat, but I've been tempted to swear many times when discussing this issue. We are trying to replace the 98% reduction in YouTube revenue that we are experiencing overnight through no fault of our own due to what is known as a YouTube advertiser boycott. In the short term, I'm asking you to go to patreon.com/David Pakman Show. Throw in a couple bucks a month. We're trying to get to 500 patrons at patreon.com/David Pakman Show. That's patreon.com/David Pakman Show. And of course, you can become a member at davidpakman.com/membership. And you can also use our Amazon link, davidpakman.com/Amazon, anytime you shop at Amazon. More, including the crazy cat controversy on the bonus show today.